Bonjour. How you doing? Cool cats and kittens. Give me 2 seconds. 2 seconds. 2 seconds. Um. Yep. There we go. There we go. We're getting it. What happened? Well, ABC is a jerk when it comes to their content. And I guess I didn't have my music loud enough. I can fight it. It doesn't go against my channel whatsoever. It doesn't go against my channel. I lose monetization on it, like ad monetization, but you only get a half a penny per ad. Hello, how you doing?
Hey. Okay, we're back.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I changed it. I flipped it and I
Mm,
put like a little logo thingy on it and I
yeah.
added music, but I didn't have the music long enough. They are such jerks.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. No worries. No worries.
So
So go ahead.
I saw where you got to right around where Terry Britt was kind of talking about what someone might do with her.
Mm-hmm.
Did that not give you the icks?
Yeah, it gave me the X,
Mhm.
and uh, he was fantasizing
Mm-hmm. Yep.
about that because he liked the blonde haired, blue eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it was Holly's cousin that initially told Karen, hey, you need to check this guy out because me and Holly were together and we saw him staring. Because at this point, they were looking at anybody.
Right. But it was sort of an open secret before.
Right. Right. And as we'll get into it, Zach Adams was bragging to people about it and
Right.
threatening people, saying that he would do the same thing. He would basically do the same thing that he did to Holly Bobo to them.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
Was
he was,
Zach Adams, was he, who was like the, out of the four, who was like the ringleader?
well, they say it was Zach Adams, but I think it was Jason Autry.
One of them had to come up with this idea.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
For
So
sure.
one of them had to be like,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
something's off.
Yeah.
And the others, how old are these guys at the time?
In their 20s. Now, Jason Autry, I think, was the oldest. He was like in his 30s, I think.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
that's wow.
Yeah.
Because I think of these guys as, I don't know, I think of them as being like very, really young. I don't know, but
Right.
they weren't. They weren't.
No.
Just
And did you hear the part two where Holly Bobo's mom lied about her age in the beginning?
no.
Uh-huh. When investigators first got there,
Hmm.
she told the TBI agent that she was 17 so that she could get an Amber Alert.
Yeah.
Mhm. And so then after Holly's case, that's when they started issuing Amber Alerts for um, young adults that went
That's
missing.
nice. That's nice.
Yeah.
With what did he say? They did the wiretap in
Mm-hmm.
Creeps got Terry.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the first time that they had done like the wiretap.
Yeah. So they wiretapped his phone and Terry Britt's house. They like bugged his house. And that was the first time in Tennessee state history that they'd ever done that.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what's next?
So should we play like the first part of Karen Bobo's of the
Well,
trial.
let's
Mhm.
let's tell them what ended up happening, like how Holly, how these four were arrested, and how long it took, and also who ended up finding Holly.
Yeah. Okay. So Holly went missing in 2011, and from the first month, Holly's family hired a private investigator.
Yes.
Um,
Let's go into that.
the
Yes.
the private investigator started hearing the names of these four guys, and so she went to check out their alibi, and their alibi was each other. And so she sent the info to the TBI, and TBI basically said, "We don't need your assistance. We've got it." Um, and so their names just kept coming up and up through the whole investigation. And Dylan Adams, the younger brother of Zach, got arrested first
Mm-hmm.
on a felony gun charge, I believe it was. And when he got out, what's interesting is he was supposed to go to um, like one of those, like a home for like a rehabilitation home when you get out of prison.
Right.
And they ended up sending him, TBI ended up sending him to live with a Memphis police officer, and his name gets brought up in this new
Wow.
trial. And I can't remember what his name is, but he ended up getting close to this police officer and kind of said, "Hey, I know what happened to Holly BoBo." And so then he went back to TBI, and he laid out the story for them. And then they started arresting, uh, they arrested Jason Autry and Zach Adams. And then I think Shane Austin, um, I don't know if he was ever arrested for it. I know that he gave a statement for immunity,
Mm.
um, but he later he passed away in 2015. So,
Mm.
mhm.
Okay.
um, Dylan Adams was in 2014, I think, is when he confessed. Uh, and I think that they found her remains in 2014, that same
Mm-hmm.
after the confession,
So it
is
took
when they
about
found her remains. And
three,
her,
4 years. 3 years, 4 years.
mhm, yep, yep.
Okay.
Um, so they were basically building it as a circumstantial case until they found her partial
Yes.
remains. And it still is very much a circumstantial case.
Right. So how was Holly found?
So Holly was found by a ginseng hunter.
Mm-hmm.
He was in the woods with a friend, and his friend was already further down in the woods, and he was going back up to his truck, and he saw a bucket in the middle of the woods. And so he walked over and he turned it over and found them. And um, I think immediately that whole area knew it was probably her.
Mm-hmm.
So
And wasn't there, like, I don't know, there was something about something stood out to him. I don't know if it was obviously the bucket, but I watched a news piece on that you sent to me about that.
yeah,
I can't remember what
yeah.
it
So it
was.
was mainly, it was just the bucket and just how it was just the bucket and how it was like weirdly placed in the woods. It was like upside down, and he
Uh-huh.
was like, "Why is this?" It was like a 5-gallon bucket just in the middle of the woods.
Mm-hmm.
So
And it was
yeah,
her skull, correct?
correct.
Just
And they found.
that's it,
Mhm.
right? Like, nothing. Did they ever
Well,
find the rest of her?
No, they found several of her ribs, and they found her belongings, her purse, her keys.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost like animals had
Gotcha.
scattered
Got it.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we need to slightly back up a little bit because
Mhm.
they ended up abducting Holly and they
Mhm.
took her to a barn.
Mhm.
They took her to a barn. How far was
Of
this
course,
barn from the abduction?
not far. It was like several I want to say it was within 10 miles.
Okay.
Now, that's Jason Autry's testimony. He says that he didn't get involved until after everything had been done. Jason Autry was basically helping them clean everything up, according
Mm,
to his testimony. Now, Dylan Adams says that Jason Autry was involved from from the beginning, the kidnapping, everything.
mm-hmm. So,
So that's what was so hard about this, is because their statements were very different.
mm-hmm. I don't know if I'll ever know the entire, maybe on their deathbed, but that would
Yeah.
be it. That's probably about it. It's probably about as
Well, and
good
I
as.
think that there's some self-preserving probably
Oh,
when you're
yeah,
confessing, so
yeah.
they're
You're
trying to make
minimizing
they're trying to make
yours.
themselves look better. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's nothing about this, but they had claimed that they took. I just want to give a big trigger warning because this is really heavy. What we're going to talk about.
Mhm.
Um, they claimed they took Holly to a barn
Mhm.
and they essayed her
Mhm.
or ard her,
Mhm.
and there was a man mowing,
Uh-huh.
right?
Right.
You want to tell that? You know better than
Yeah,
me.
so the way that Jason Autry, who was the state star witness in this case, he says that he was told that they took her to this barn, they did whatever they did to her, and that the youngest brother and the youngest brother was scared that they were going to get caught because there was a man mowing his grass across the street. And when
Hmm.
they went to go talk to the man across the street, they were able to corroborate that story that
Hmm.
he had been out there at that time.
Yeah. So Holly was in the barn.
Yeah, I agree. And it was interesting because I listened to the interrogation of Dylan. They've just
Hmm.
recently released that,
Hmm.
and they asked every kind of question you could think of, like down to what exactly she was wearing, because some of her undergarments were found thrown on the road. Um,
Holly's?
and so only, yes,
Oh wow, I didn't
yes.
know that.
And only, TBI obviously knew that, and the person who found them, but the details of those items weren't released to the public. So that was
Right.
why it was so important that Dylan describe what she was wearing, because
Hmm.
only
They
the
would know
person
that.
who had left. Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else that happened before, like about we need to talk about before we get to the trial part?
Mm, um, I I think that it was important that to compare Miss Bobo, the Bobo family. I feel like a lot of what she went through before the trial was a lot like what we see Seth,
Mm-hmm.
the frustration with law enforcement. Um, she struggled with law enforcement and voiced it
Yeah, she made it. Oh,
publicly.
she made it. Thank you
Mhm.
for talking about that. Yes,
Yeah.
she had press conferences. Step right up. Right, like
Yes. Yeah.
she, but she was a mother. That's what a mother
Mhm.
does, though.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
I mean, she would just
Mhm.
say, "I'm going to be on this step at this time. If
Mhm.
y'all want to come,
Mhm.
bring your cameras. If not," and people came.
And she knew about those four boys. Of course, she had Zach in school. When she started hearing their names, she went to each and every one of their houses and interviewed them herself. And I thought, whoa, like that's a tough mama.
Yeah. God bless her. She's just
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
she's a good person, man. A good
She is,
person.
yeah.
She's a good,
Yeah.
good person.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so can you talk about a little bit about the struggle that her and law enforcement were that she was having?
Yeah. So at the trial, especially, she talks about how the TBI agent would promise her, we're going to bring Holly home by her birthday. We're going to bring her home by Christmas. And he just kept saying these empty promises. And you just
Mhm.
can't do that in a you just can't do that.
No, because
Um,
you have no idea.
you have no idea. And so, it gave her hope and but it never
Yeah,
happened.
it's it's good on the parents' ears, but when the
Right.
day comes and it doesn't
Comes.
happen, it's an
Mhm.
empty promise.
Right. Right.
Right. And
And then she
so
just kept getting frustrated because she was, um, social media was really kind of new. She didn't have social media. So someone stepped in for her and set up a Facebook page, like a Finding Holly BoBo page. And everything that would come in, she would go investigate it.
mhm,
She was having to work those tips herself too. And so, she just kept hearing about those four boys, and she didn't feel like, TBI was doing anything about it.
yeah. Um, can you talk a little bit about the uh the female private detective or
Yeah,
investigator
yeah,
rather?
yeah. So she knew from the first month that those four boys were definitely involved. Their names kept getting brought up. So she went to go check their alibis, and their alibis were just each other. They didn't have a solid alibi. Um, and she turned that information over to the TBI, and the TBI was just like, we're good. We got this. We don't need any
Mhm.
extra help.
Yeah. And she literally knew the first month.
Hmm. Yeah. And that's just really sad because, a lot of evidence was probably lost. And
Oh my
they,
God.
yeah, well,
Yes.
yeah. And they had all of that information day one.
Yeah. Reminds me a bit of Delphi,
Mm-hmm.
where
Yeah.
they overlooked the guy who said he was there. Yep.
That's very true.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And you still kind of feel like that in some sense with the TBI, because there are times where you think, and you may not have anything, and I mean everyone thinks, sometimes you think, oh wow, this might be really something, and obviously people call because of that,
Right.
but sometimes it's like they don't, it's like they're not hearing you,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
Egos got in the way, in my opinion. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
Hmm.
So can you, before we're going to play
Hmm.
that little bit of trial there because it's very important.
Yeah.
But when it, uh, what was I gonna say? The damn, what was I gonna say? I literally lost it like that. It was something I was reading and it took
But
me
in
off.
between, are you thinking of maybe like the conflict with TBI within themselves?
Yep,
Okay.
yep, yep.
So I think that was another problem too, is there there was a lot of conflict within TBI with this case because Terry Dykes, the TBI agent, really honed in on Terry Britt. Um, and there were some FBI agents involved in the case that thought that Terry Britt was involved as well. And also a U.S. Marshal that was involved in this case thought that Terry Britt was, involved. So you had some people who really thought Terry Britt did this. And then you had other people who just thought that the other four boys had something to do with it.
But this is the,
Um,
I mean, this is the thing. Terry Britt is not that intelligent of a guy.
right, right.
I mean, th- th- he's
I mean, is
going
it
to,
possible that he could have done this?
of
Yeah,
course,
yeah,
but
yeah.
there was nothing. There was no like
Right,
none.
right. Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
and the fact that he was with his wife, it showed, like his phone records even showed, he was with his wife that morning. They were at the auto salvage place. I
mhm.
know that they don't have great receipts, but they even kept, he kept all his receipts. And he just didn't do this.
Right, right.
So,
Nobody should be, even if they are a criminal themselves, they shouldn't be blamed of a crime that they
right.
didn't do.
Right. And
You know
and
what I mean?
you'll hear the TBI agent say, "We ruined Terry Britt's life." They
Yeah.
did.
And how do you think, in your opinion, how do you think, from a public standpoint, TBI changed after Holly Bobo's case?
Oh gosh, I think in a lot of ways the way that they do press conferences changed
Hmm.
because the director of TBI, Mark Gwynn, he was out in the street with those people in Decatur County. Also, the way that searches happened changed. You saw that whole county searching together. Um, I think now that a big reason they don't want people searching as a community is because if there is a crime, they don't want people trampling all over it.
Yeah.
They've got to preserve that stuff. Um, and I think the communication is just shut down. I think that they're very tight lipped.
Hmm.
Um,
So the
yeah.
director of TBI, he was literally in the street
Yeah.
with the public, answering questions, all of that.
Mhm. Well, and it was, I wouldn't say he put some fear in them, but he basically, when he was in the street with them, he said, "We know that the people involved or the person involved in this is from here. They've got to know the layout." And so you can imagine the fear that that probably put in their community.
Right. I mean, you think about, I mean, of course they had to be. I mean, where they lived to begin
Hmm.
with
Hmm.
was
Yeah.
in the, like, it's a yard, it's a house kind of tucked away, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like back in the woods, tucked away, and it's at the end of a street. And you might not see, houses for a while. The houses are really spread far apart. So it's not like you've got a neighbor right up on you.
Right.
You've got some distance between you.
Okay. All right. What was that timestamp?
It is
1 hour.
1 hour and 52 minutes.
Okay. Can you kind of describe what we are?
Yeah. So this is Agent Brent Booth with the
Uh-huh.
TBI. And he was one of the agents that assisted on this case, or really, in my opinion, I think he was one of the head agents on this case. And he kind of just walks through his role in the investigation from the start and how TBI played a part from beginning to end.
Right. Okay, credit goes to Law and Crime. Link is provided in the description. I will also provide a link in the chat. I will also give credit right here. Law, which Law and Crime's good, but still, just want to be life. And I will also, will it let us over here? Let's see if we do it like this. Damn it. No. Will it do this? Okay. Will it, give me 2 seconds, guys, because I got my windows set differently now because I don't normally have 2 of us. Okay, this will work. Yeah, this will work. Okay, I got to be able to put my thing up is why. Fair use disclaimer. We are using this under the Fair Use Act of 1976 for commentary, criticism, purposes. Damn, I'm way up here. Okay. I'm used to being one picture. Okay. Here we go, y'all. Might be a little music in the background. And if one of you complain, this is what I'm going to say.
A bullshit?
You're welcome. Okay. You on the roof. The roof. The roof. The roof is on fire. Okay. This is one.
Thank you.
Listen to this.
You can excuse at the morning recess at this time. I don't like to break up witnesses when I can. We'll start back in 15 minutes following the
was going on, told him to head that way. And Terry and I conversed over the cell phone en route to Decatur County.
Decatur County into where?
Decatur County is Lexington's neighbor to the east. It's about,
Where were you going? Where were you going in Decatur County?
I was going to 681 Swan Johnson Road in the Darden community. It's a small community just west of Parsons, east of Lexington. It's about 25 minutes from my house, maybe 20 minutes from Lexington on 412 East.
Was it a community that you were familiar with?
It is.
Did you know people who live there?
I do, and I have. I've got friends and family there. My excuse me, father-in-law, ex-father-in-law, his mother-in-law go to church there in Corinth in the Darden community with the BoBo family.
Did you know the BoBos at all at that point then?
No, I
Just
didn't.
tell me if you want me to stop it, okay?
Okay.
You ever been to Swan Johnson before?
If I had, I didn't remember it.
Listen to this, y'all.
So you're en route to Swan Johnson. Tell us about when you get there.
I arrived there at approximately 9:15. Agent Dykus was vehicle right in front of me. We arrived, there was a large number of people. We estimated 100 to 200 maybe, lined the roads.
You ever seen something like this before?
No,
What kind of
not
people?
in our community, not in that community.
Who are all these people?
Friends, neighbors.
So there was 200 people,
At least, yeah.
like whenever the TBI got there.
whenever they got there.
So it
That
was
morning.
already,
Yep.
everybody was looking for Holly.
Everybody was looking for her from like within minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. This was
Like-
so unusual because, you know, Clint had just seen her walking into the woods. He thought it was her boyfriend. And, you know, Miss Karen knew that wasn't the case.
Mhm.
And that's why she knew that she wouldn't be walking in the woods with her boyfriend. It had to be something, you know, else.
Yeah, well, I mean, not only that, she was on her way to school. She was going to be a nurse.
Right. Yeah, she had a big test that day. And also the neighbor called the school and said that they heard a scream. So she just knew something wasn't right.
She was very responsible. Holly was.
Yes. Very,
Very
very responsible. Yes.
It just was not her. Okay.
No,
Listen to this,
no,
y'all.
not at
Hey,
all.
Were there people searching already?
When I drove up, I saw the Decatur County Sheriff's Office personnel there. Ricky Inman, Sheriff White was in the front yard. Henderson County's TAC unit, Captain Jeff Middleton, his unit was up on the hill on the edge of the woods with a dog. They looked to me, what do we do? And I directed them, go. They went into the woods where it was reported that she was taken. Terry Dykus went up to the house, behind the house, to secure the crime scene with assistance of Decatur County Sheriff's Office personnel.
Do they have an idea of where, like, they parked at once they took her into the woods?
Yeah, so there was an old logging road right behind their property, and they think that they were parked on that old logging road.
Her blood was found on the carport also.
Yeah.
And it's just, I feel so bad for her brother because her brother was home and, like,
Right.
he's like feet away and
Yeah.
she's being abducted.
And he, you know, and
You just don't
that
think of
was, yeah, and he just woke up and he was so confused. He didn't know what was going on. I feel bad for him.
Yeah, and of all times to be like asleep, you know what I mean?
Right.
You don't know what the hell's going on when you first wake up.
Right. Right. Well, and he heard her in the carport. I mean, he heard arguing and he thought it was her and her boyfriend and he didn't want to get in the middle of it.
Right.
And so he just didn't think, even when he went outside and saw the blood in the carport, he still didn't think anything bad had happened. He thought maybe that her boyfriend was showing her a turkey that he had got and that it had left a trail. I mean, he still at that point didn't think anything bad. He just didn't.
Your brain has to make sense of it.
Right.
In some way.
And that's why he said, I just didn't immediately think. I didn't know what was going on.
Well, you just don't think. I mean, I'm from the country. You know what I mean? And you don't think of 4 men coming to your carport and carrying you off.
No. Yeah.
You just don't think about that. It's the last thing. Okay.
Karen came down the hill.
Listen to this.
With,
what happened?
Ricky Inman and
What
I
happened when
talked to her, got Holly's information. The Fusion Center, which is our intelligence division in Nashville that handles getting out Amber Alerts, getting out missing and endangered person alerts. They coordinate all of that. I had them on the phone. We were coordinating getting Holly's photo information out. We were ascertaining what she knew of the facts and what happened. Clint, her brother, was there. I began coordinating and getting critical assets that we needed in place.
Critical assets or to do what? Like, why'd you send those men, those SWAT team guys into those woods?
With the information we had, was treating this case as, or what we had as a search and rescue mission.
That's what sending those men in the woods?
Yeah,
Amber Alert?
find Holly. That was our #1 mission at that point.
Did you personally search the area of the house?
Yes, I did. Once we have what we call a mobile office, which is it's a large motorhome that we bring in that is equipped and staffed with information processing capabilities. I had that on the way. Our SAC, Special Agent in Charge, John Mayer, got the Memphis Regional Lab and their personnel en route to work the crime scene. I had learned that while I was there, Decatur County Sheriff's Office, in cooperation with their 911 center, had pinged her phone. I'm sorry if I'm talking too much. So we knew a direction,
What was the direction?
north.
North from the house on Swan Johnson,
Yes, north toward I-40,
toward I-40.
Benton County. If you're familiar with Decatur County, I-40 runs through the northern edge. It encompasses a general mile markers of 120 to about the 130 or the Tennessee River. We had a general direction of travel of her phone.
In the minutes that follow after you have the general direction of north, you start to get other pings with more information.
Yes,
And what's that?
we learned of a ping that had happened at 9:25 a.m. south of I-40, about maybe halfway, not quite, a few miles from her house.
So they get pings from her phone. What time was she abducted?
I think it was 7:30,
7:30.
around 7:30. Yeah.
So at 9:30, they're getting her phone still on, or at least on and
Yeah.
off.
Yeah. They're able to get the pings from them.
Uh-huh.
And that's the first thing that they did is they started pinging her cell phone. Now, you got to remember back in 2011,
It's
the
different.
towers are like 2G and they couldn't pinpoint exactly where she was. They could kind of get an idea, but there was some controversy too about could the pings be a little bit off, right? So,
Thank you so much, Kim. Really do appreciate you, my dear, for gifting a pearl necklace. Very kind of you. If you received that, make sure you thank our beautiful Kim. Thank you, love. So, yeah, I mean, it was literally 2G in 2011, and there wasn't near as many towers as there is now either.
Right. And it's a small, like very small community, bad cell phone reception in general. And so I think that was really difficult. And they had to have a U.S. Marshal kind of guide them through those pings.
This was cutting edge for even the TBI then.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Coming back, the phone looked like it was coming back south.
Maybe you skipped ahead to her last cell phone thing, so let's back up for a second, okay?
Yes, sir.
So let's listen to the, you described the early pings about the,
Did they ever find her phone?
Yes, they did.
They did find her phone. Was it thrown on the side of the road like her undergarments and stuff?
Yep. Well, it was sitting on something, so they think that almost it was like intentionally placed, but it was on the side of a road. It was in like a culvert.
Interesting.
phone heading north.
Yes,
Is that
sir.
right?
That's correct.
And those pings and the couple that followed, they give you any information as to where north
Yeah,
we're
did
talking
you?
about?
No,
No.
very general.
I guess that's what I was asking. We'll have the cell phone expert testify later, so I'm not asking you to be an expert, okay?
I'm not by any means. I have
Does the
general
Does the
knowledge.
cell phone ping tell you that the phone is right here,
No.
to give you a large radius instead?
Yes, sir.
After those first pings that have her going north, you said to the interstate,
Yes, sir.
are there other pings in that area over the course of time?
Yes.
And in what
You always know how the TBI works once trial comes, especially with these missing people,
Mhm.
right? It's like it's a secret until trial comes, but they have a
Right.
formula regardless,
Mhm.
right? They have
And
the
yeah, and I think it's very interesting that we don't see the sheriff of Decatur County on the stand. It's all TBI, US Marshal, and FBI that are in this trial
great point. Great point.
because
Because never on
when
there.
right, because when any evidence is found, TBI is bagging it up. TBI is taking it back to their crime unit lab, and they're analyzing it. And so I would think that if Sebastian's case, if there was any evidence found, Sumner County, I don't think is handling it. I would
I
think
don't think
TBI would be.
they don't have the resources to do that, I wouldn't
I
think.
think that that's why, for TBI to get involved, the district attorney has to request them. And so I would assume that they just don't have those resources.
Yeah. So there was no local
Mm-mm.
sheriff's office, if you will, that testified in Holly BoBo's case at all.
And not that I remember, they made statements with the family when her remains were found, but I don't think that he took the stand. I don't remember him taking the stand.
And interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And they didn't say like TBI was the lead of this case, did they?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
They did.
Yeah.
They did
Yeah.
say that. Okay. Okay. So in Sebastian's case, they are saying that
Sumner County is the lead.
Sumner County, yeah.
Well, I mean, and they might say that. I just don't think that that's the case because any evidence, even with phone pings, I would guarantee you that TBI was the one to do the warrants for those phone pings and has that capability. Any evidence that's collected is with TBI.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are going to have to testify.
Right. Yeah, because it's them doing the testing and all that.
Yeah, they're doing the work.
That's very interesting. That makes you really think.
Yeah.
Credit can't do all
Now,
that.
and it also makes you think, like, has Sumner County turned over all of the tips that they have over to TBI? You know what I mean? Like, are all agencies sharing that information and are they reviewing it together?
I know, and it's, we have a system in place, but sometimes when there's so much bureaucracy with this and this and this and this,
Right.
and there's so many cases to begin with, there's only so many people,
Right.
and there's so many tips being called in, and that's why it's really important to not overload any
It's
law
hard.
enforcement with
Right.
just frivolous things. It is
Right.
imperative people know that. Like,
Right.
if it's actually something first person, right?
Mhm.
Did you see it? Did you hear it? Right?
Right.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Not my nephew, sisters, brothers, aunts, next, third
Yeah.
generation cousin said it.
Mhm.
Particularly in the beginning, I really think so. You know what I mean? Like, particularly in the
Yeah.
beginning, because if they say that they have to go through every single one of these tips, and a lot of them they do, but I just think there becomes a lot of confusion and a lot of.
Yeah.
I agree. Also, one detective can cause tunnel vision even with the best.
Yeah, that's very
Absolutely.
true.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're
Yeah.
human beings at first. We're all
Mhm.
human beings first, right? And
Yeah.
things can happen.
Mhm.
And does TBI find people? Of course they do.
Mhm.
They do find
Yeah.
people, but it seems like on these very high profile cases, particularly when certain issues are in place,
Mhm.
circumstances are in place, it seems like there's no answers in these cases.
Yeah. You're right. I mean, look at Summer Wells.
Yeah,
That's heartbreaking.
yeah, yeah.
And I just wonder, like, do they have conflict within themselves about that case? I I don't know.
I think with Summer Wells, it's they don't have really where they live, and I think technology wasn't great then, where they live, like cell phones and things like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know. But okay. All right, let's continue with this.
Community, or what area are those cell phone pings in?
Yellow Springs.
I
Yellow
agree.
Springs. Are you familiar with the Yellow Springs community?
I agree, Ginger. I think that law enforcement, I think they know the players involved in Sebastian's case. I think they don't have everything that they need for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Um,
Or they
I,
do, and they've just overlooked it. It hasn't been relooked. They might have that one piece of information, but they just haven't gone back to review everything.
yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Because by April, when he went missing in April, when they did the press conference, I think that there was like 300 tips called in then. I mean, and that's a lot of tips, you know. So one out of that 300, and there's no telling how many have been called in since then. So, have they gone back through every single one of those tips?
yeah. Yeah. I think, obviously, when you don't have the person you're looking for, the remains, or
Right.
whether they're alive or not,
Right.
that's a big factor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They, and trigger warning, but sometimes there's just not really anything left. At times there are people that make sure that there is virtually nothing left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when that happens, it's, you know,
Yeah. It's hard to prove.
especially if it didn't happen like if it happened in certain ways or it happened outside of a home,
Hmm.
you know, that's big. Yeah. Okay.
Before this,
No, sir.
were you familiar with Holiday, Tennessee, right there next to Yellow Springs at the time?
Yes, sir.
These pings show that the phone lingered in the Yellow Springs community.
Yes, sir.
On the basis of that information, did y'all
I
do
agree,
anything? Did
Ginger.
y'all send people to do anything?
We did. Tennessee Highway Patrol had been notified and they had moved people that way. We sent Decatur County personnel north into that area. We sent the Highway Patrol north into that area. What we typically do, get assets where we need them. Human assets, people, looking, searching.
You sent people with guns in the woods behind the house,
Yes, sir.
right? And seeing friends, family, volunteers there at the crime scene that morning,
Yes, sir.
right? You knew her cell phone traveled north.
Yes, sir.
You knew it lingered in Yellow Springs.
We didn't.
And so you alerted THP and everybody else.
How far is Yellow Springs from them,
Yellow Springs from them.
from Holly's house? You have an
Let
idea?
me look it up. It's very close.
Yeah, True Crime Junkie. I agree. You know, but you know, with like we were talking about in Holly BoBo's case, Holly's mom was equally as frustrated. She was very much frustrated during that time.
So it's 14 miles, about 21 minutes.
Mm.
Mhm.
Do you know how far like the four perpetrators lived from Holly?
Yeah, so Yellow Springs Road is where Shane Austin, I believe, lived off of Yellow Springs Road. That's where they found a lot of her belongings.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where that barn was too.
Got it.
I don't know Zach Adams and Dylan. They lived on the same property. But I can't remember. I think they were very close to her, within like, I think 10 miles.
Right. Rob Beanie, it took them 3 or 4 years to find her?
Yeah, they found her in 2014.
Okay, so it's 2011 to 2014.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it was, again, a ginseng hunter.
Mm-hmm.
How far was she found from the barn? Do you know?
Oh, from the barn? I don't know from the barn, but I think she was like 20 miles. She was relatively close.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Statistically, maximum
mhm.
a body normally is 25, 30 miles is really pushing it.
Yeah.
But about 25, 30 miles is about maximum. Usually remains are found.
Yeah.
But they're generally a few miles within the house. Generally, most people don't want to take a body across state lines.
Right.
Because it's a very risky thing to do. Does it happen? Absolutely, it does happen.
And I think that that's what they were initially thinking when they saw her cell phone traveling up north going towards the interstate.
Yeah.
I think that they were thinking that somebody was taking her on the interstate somewhere out of Decatur County. She
Mhm.
was found approximately 20 miles from her home. It was in a wooded area of northern Decatur County near Interstate 40. The location is less than 12. The location is less than 12 miles from her home along County Corner Road.
Wow. Okay.
Mhm.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Because I mean, Holly was alive
Uh-huh.
during the ride there and all of this, right? Like they kept her alive until they did
Yeah.
what they did to her.
Right. Mhm.
So,
And it also says that the discovery site was near property owned by family of Zach Adams. So
Kim B says Zach and Dylan actually lived on Adams Road.
yes, that's right. Adams Lane or Adams Road. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dylan lived with his grandfather, and then Zach, I think, had like a trailer right on his grandfather's property.
She was unalived under the I-40 bridge.
Mhm. Yes.
Really? I did not know that. I thought she was unalived in the barn.
Well, that's what they thought. That's in the trial, it comes up. So they all thought that she was unalived in the barn. They wrapped her in a blanket, and that's when Jason Autry comes in, and they realized that she was still alive.
Wow.
Mhm.
So what, I mean, they take her under a bridge?
Yeah. Well, their plan, I don't even want to. You have to watch it. I mean, the way that Jason Autry describes, because it was his idea of what they were going to do to her. They took her under that bridge for a reason, but it didn't pan out. So Zach Adams had to figure out a different.
So they took her to the barn, did
Yeah.
what they did,
Uh-huh.
thought she was dead,
Right.
and then what were they taking her to dispose of her and realize she was alive?
Yes. Yes. Hmm.
Okay.
They were taking her to the river, to the Tennessee River,
Okay.
and realized she was still alive. And Jason Autry was like, hey, she has heard my voice. She has, she knows I'm involved. You're going to have to figure this out. And so Zach Adams goes and gets something in his car, and he,
Pew-pews.
yeah.
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 Poor girl.
I know.
May they rot in hell.
Uh-huh. Absolutely. Well, and that the worst part, I mean,
Wow.
it's all horrible, but Jason Autry was on the stand describing how they were going to put her in the Tennessee River. Like it was nothing. Like he was just talking like he was just telling somebody's
Like he was ordering food or something.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
There is just people that have no compassion at
Mm-mm.
all. None.
Oh yeah, and the crazy thing about Jason Autry's testimony, if anybody's listened to it, he pulls up to the house that morning, and Zach Adams is like, "Hey, you got to help me bury this body," and Jason Autry was like, "Oh, you guys unalived little JoJo." And so now everybody was like, who's little JoJo? Like Jason Autry thought this was another unalived person in the back of the truck. And he was like, you guys unalive JoJo? And so now everybody's like, well, where's JoJo? Yeah. I think you're muted. I don't think he knows. I can't hear you.
Oh shit, I was muted. Sorry.
You're okay.
Thank you. Yeah, really do appreciate you. I'll never forget the day that Holly went missing. Such a horrible, sad day. Thank you, Justin, for covering this. Rest in peace, sweet Holly. Really do appreciate you, my dear, and thank you so much for your continued support. Really does mean a lot to me, truly. So I'm confused about the JoJo thing.
Yeah. So Jason Autry starts off his testimony and he's like, I pulled up to the house and Zach, he was going there to buy some stuff from Zach Adams. And Zach was like, I need you to help me.
Drugs.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
He was like, I need you to help me bury this body. And yeah, like it was nothing. And
yeah,
Jason,
while I'm here, can you kind of help me?
yeah, like, can you just help me? And Jason was like, oh, is that JoJo? And they were
Why
like,
did you
no,
think it was
it's
JoJo.
because it was another guy that Zach Adams had been fighting with. And I guess
So
Zach Adams,
he unalived another one.
yeah, he thought he was about to unalive this guy named JoJo. Uh-huh. Yep. And so he was like, that's not little JoJo, or I hate that y'all unalived little JoJo. And Zach Adams said, that's not JoJo, that's Holly BoBo. And so Jason Autry was like, okay, well, this is what we're going to do, and came up with the plan. And yeah.
That's crazy. Like, it's amazing to me. Like, someone says, hey, can you like help me bury a body? And they're like, sure.
Yeah, I mean,
I would have been
crazy.
like, absolutely. Hold on, let me go to the bathroom real quick.
Mhm.
I'll be right
Yep.
back. You know?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
They're very scary.
So he was the brains of the operation.
Yeah, I would say he's definitely the brains. Zach Adams is like the ringleader, if you will. They thought he was behind the planning of the kidnapping.
One of them had to come up.
Oh, had to. They had to have been sitting there thinking about it.
They have to be so demented to bring this to others.
Well,
right?
Yeah.
And sometimes others will get involved because they're equally sick, but sometimes they will do it under pressure, as bad as that is.
Yeah.
And so, there's different levels of sickness.
Yeah. And I think that that's probably true with Dylan, the youngest brother. I think that he was involved just because they were all hanging out together, because he's the first one that came forward.
Right.
And I think it bothered him
the most.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't understand how Jason can recant his story this long after trial is over. That's crazy.
I know.
I agree. I agree. But what is it a technicality they're trying to do, or what? Like,
they're just trying to, like a technicality. He didn't have a fair trial. And now everybody's Dylan's recanted his story. Jason Autry recanted his story, and of course, Zach Adams never said
Confessed.
told the truth.
Yeah.
So
Dylan was more, like Cece said,
yes,
more-
Dylan, yes, yeah,
mhm.
yeah.
Got
Well,
it.
they said that in the trial. They said, Dylan had was taking special education classes, I think all through high school. I think he was easily influenced by
Right.
his brother and his friends.
Mhm.
He wanted to fit in with his brother.
There are
And
people that will do
right,
anything to fit in.
right. And I think he was scared of his brother.
We see
You
it
know,
here
he's-
on YouTube, for that matter. I mean, so
Oh yeah. Yeah, he was scared of his brother, and his brother, threatened him many times.
what was Dylan and what's his face? What were their parents like? How did they grow up?
Well, Dylan and Zach were basically raised by their grandparents. And this is really interesting, actually. So, their dad had passed away years prior,
Mhm.
and their mom was in their life, but she had moved to Atlanta. So I think she was kind of like in and out. And Zach actually had some conflict with his mom, where one time he was demanding money from her and she wouldn't give it to him, and he shot her. He pulled out a gun and shot her. And so there
So
was oh yeah. There was one point when his mom had a protective order against her own son.
that grandma's life had to be hell.
Oh my gosh. Well, so the grandmother, Zach and Dylan's grandmother, had recently passed away right before Holly's, before they kidnapped her. I think the grandmother passed away like one of the first days of April, like April 1st or 2nd. And then, of course, Holly was abducted April 13th. And people that were close to Zach said that his I don't know if I can even say it, his addiction got worse. And his
Gotcha.
behavior got worse
Mhm.
after his grandmother passed away.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like he was the Looney Tune out of all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
The grandparents were very elderly.
Yeah. And I think, really, they seemed like great grandparents. The grandparents, I feel so bad for them because they were hard workers and they gave those boys everything.
Right.
And it's really sad. It's sad, but it's almost like, they kept enabling these boys.
They probably just wanted them to leave him alone and just was like, here, I'll do it because I don't want to hear you. I don't want to be pew-pewed in the leg or whatever.
Yeah.
And probably, I mean, when you're that old, you're scared.
Right. And the same thing was said with Shane Austen's mom. Shane Austen was having, I think he had been addicted to those substances since he was 16. And so when he got older, it kept happening and he was bringing that stuff in their house. So they got him a trailer and they kind of did everything for him as long as they didn't have to see all that stuff in their house.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's play a little bit of this.
Go to that area.
Despite all that, nobody found her.
That's correct.
She was gone.
Yeah.
You were there at that house, Swan Johnson.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Her phone's moving and then lingering in Yellow Springs.
I didn't know. We never assumed anything. I didn't know if that was just her phone or her with the phone. We didn't know. You have to take that into account.
Missing 20-year-old girl, though.
Yeah.
The crime scene at the house, you were there when agents, including yourself, searched it, right?
I was.
Inside the house, outside the house.
Lab personnel did that. Forensic scientists. That's what they do for us. Specialized in searching, and they have all the necessary equipment to collect, preserve, maintain, and test evidence for us.
This,
They come to the scene and we turn the scene over, secure scene to them to process. That took a number of hours. As I recall, it was completed probably around 2:30 a.m. on the 14th.
despite all that, searching the house, turning it over to the crime scene personnel, analysis, and stuff like that, would you agree with me that as you stood there at Swan Johnson that morning, even after all that,
Yes, sir.
that this crime scene wasn't telling you who did this thing?
No, sir. It wasn't.
Wow.
We searched the house completely and even went under the house.
There's blood
mean,
in the
there was-
garage. Was there blood in the garage?
There was nothing in the house at all.
Mm-mm.
There couldn't have been. They didn't know that,
Right.
but
Right. But I'm sure they were like going through all of her stuff to see if maybe she had, was talking to somebody, or if there was anything in the house that, gave them any clues
right.
to who
Yeah.
did this.
She was having problems at school or with a guy or
Yeah.
what have you.
Right. And remember, they were looking kind of at Clint too, like, okay, is
Which
his
is the
story.
brother. Mhm.
Yeah. So they, I feel like they kind of lost that time with doing that. Now they still did have searchers people searched for years for her. They didn't give up.
Yeah. Hey, Muscles. Hope you're doing good, sweetsies. Good to see you. Hobo, thank you so much for 5 months. Justin, you're amazing. Keeping us updated. Love being part of the family. Love you. Love you too. And the Pearl family. We love you too, darling. Appreciate you, my dear, for 5 months. Means a lot. And they virtually had nothing for a long time.
Yeah, they didn't have anything. They just had the stuff that was scattered on the road. They did have her cell phone.
How long did it take for him to find that?
Within a month. They found her cell phone on Easter, I believe. They decided they were going to do another big search on Easter. And that's the day that they found her cell phone. Yeah. They found her lunchbox within the first couple days. They found a whole bunch of her papers and her belongings kind of strewn across the road.
Did she had like a purse or a bag?
Yeah, so the purse was found near her remains. But her lunchbox was actually found in a creek near Swan Johnson Road. And one of the searchers found it.
Mhm.
And the problem was he got it out of the creek, so he had touched all over it. Now, the undergarments that were found, the other things that were found, that searcher didn't touch it. They waited for it to be. Also, they even found, and I think this was months later, there was a kid, a mom, it was a sister, a big sister and a little brother. They were riding bikes and they were playing I Spy. And the little brother said, I spy a SIM card. And the big sister was like, what? And sure enough, they found a SIM card. And the sister took it home and she had put it in a phone, or I can't remember, but she had taken it home, Well, she found out that it belonged to Holly.
That was so God.
Oh, that was God, because those SIM cards
Yeah.
are like this big,
Tiny. Yeah.
and they found it in the grass. And so the lady or the sister had gone home, put it in her phone, realized it was Holly. Of course, she knew Holly, but she knew Clint BoBo. So she got in touch with the BoBos, and she gave it back to the dad, Dana BoBo, and then he turned it over to TBI.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
These kids were just supposed to be there playing I Spy that day.
Yeah, and found a SIM card. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, you're out in nature and you find a little SIM card and you're like, I spy a SIM card,
Mhm.
you know?
I know, right. But what I really think is interesting about this man's testimony is he gets very emotional,
Mm-hmm.
and you can feel the weight that it had on him.
Mm-hmm.
And because this was personal to him, he'll talk about, he had a daughter that was a nursing student, so he really resonated with the BoBos, and he took it personally. I think he took it kind of hard. I think he placed a lot of blame on himself for how TBI didn't get a result quicker, didn't bring her home.
Why do you think that was?
Well, I mean, they had all of the information that they needed, and it wasn't them that solved it. First off, it was a ginseng hunter that found her. It wasn't TBI. They were wrong on, who they were investigating for a long time.
How did they eventually get to the 4? Was it after Holly was found?
No, it was when Dylan confessed.
Okay, and how long was it that he confessed after 2011?
3 years.
So it was like a year before Holly was found.
Yes.
So he just kind of confessed one day, or did they bring him in for an interrogation?
Nope. He had gotten out of prison on the gun charge, and he was living with that Memphis police officer, and he got close with that family, and he started telling the family, I know more about what happened to Holly BoBo. And the police officer said, then you need to go to TBI and tell them.
It just shows you who you're around really affects and influences
absolutely
who you become, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're naturally drawn to people who are more like you, right? That's just human condition,
right?
But a lot of people are good people, but they get this one wrong person in their life that influences them. And any of us can be great or evil if in the right condition and the circumstances, right? Anyone can unalive someone, right? But there are people that are naturally just darker, right? And when they are get in friends or whatever, they influence those, and it just shows you how he went from something so dark, prison, like a halfway house with a police officer and their family. It was bothering him.
Well, and I think that was the first time in his life that he had some normalcy, probably, especially in a family setting. He never had that before. And he wrote to that police officer even after going back to prison and saying that he missed them and he enjoyed his time with them.
Mhm.
And I think that police officer was good to him.
Some people need guidance.
Yes. Yeah.
They need that. They just, for whatever reason, don't have that self-discipline.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now today he is recanting all of that and saying that this police officer interrogated him daily to get him to confess.
Right.
I don't think that was the case.
Yeah. He's just, again, he's just a very influential. He's very easy to
Yes.
influence.
Yep.
And who he's around, in my opinion. And now the consequences, of what he's had to do.
Yep. I agree with you. Yeah.
So, but he is recanting it now, which is interesting, convenient,
Yep.
So, okay.
Yes, sir.
That's Holly's blood.
We later learned, yes.
So standing there at that crime scene, there's nothing there telling you who did it.
No, sir.
And so we started searching,
Yes, sir.
started investigating.
We did. We continued to run this as a search and rescue operation for a long time.
Agreed,
Called
Ginger.
in with tips or stuff.
Yeah, we did.
What would happen when people called in with tips?
We sent investigators. We had FBI, U.S. Marshal, THP. We had a number of agencies there. We sent people out to talk to these folks. Whoever called in, whatever it was, we sent people.
I know that you like being part of a team,
Yes, sir.
but you didn't just send people, did you? Didn't you go?
It's what I am. I'm hands-on. That's what I do.
So did you go talk to people, send them stuff,
Yeah,
send them tips?
I did.
When did
Talk
you,
to a lot of people.
when did you finally stop searching for it?
When I guess September 7th, 2014.
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah.
And you were there, you'll tell us about
Getting
that
emotional here.
later.
Yes.
Okay. Between when you pulled up on Swan Johnson the day that her body was found, how much searching, how much talking, how much investigating did you do?
I don't remember. I didn't sleep for days.
Did you get out in the woods?
Yeah, I did.
Or Jesus while they're in prison, and when they get back out, Jesus for a while, and then it's about who they hang out with, man. It really is.
Did you search in wells,
I did.
search in barns?
Thank you, great. You get
Everywhere.
years of good luck.
Wherever.
I want to recall your attention to one of these calls you got, okay?
Yes.
About Mr. Gerald Stevens.
Yes.
Had he found something?
Yeah, Gerald called. I didn't know Gerald prior to this day. Found a pair of pink panties laying in the middle of Yellow Springs Road.
That's suspicious, would you say?
It was.
Was he smart to call?
He was.
What'd you do when you got there?
Drove straight there. Parked in the middle of Yellow Springs Road. He was parked on the side near there.
Did you look at what he found?
Sir,
Did you look at what he found?
I did.
Did you call other people to get there?
I did.
What did Gerald do while you were standing there on the phone?
Gerald, he's a farmer in the area. He walked, I'm just south of Yellow Springs Church. He walked south or north toward the church, just walking down the road. Had the trunk of the car open, getting evidence bags, camera. And I observed Gerald walk toward the church, and he stopped and reached down, picked up a piece of paper. And then
Bring that piece of paper towards you.
Well, he yelled for me.
What was significant about this piece of paper?
It had Holly's name on it.
It was hot stuff.
It was.
What had Holly's name? You're muted.
A piece of paper, some papers that they had found.
Oh, okay. And it had Holly's name.
Yeah. This was he's about to talk about where they found some of her schoolwork.
Okay.
It's like things that were just discarded on the side of the road.
In
Not very smart.
Yellow Springs,
Yes, sir.
Glad.
where her phone lingered.
Yes, sir.
On actual Yellow Springs Road,
Yes, sir.
right near that church.
Correct.
And you were standing there.
I was.
Do you know how close you were standing to Shane Austin's house when you were there in 2011 with Mr. Stevens and those papers?
I had no idea. I didn't know Shane Austin and hadn't heard that name at that time. This was Friday,
This was 2 days in.
2 days later, at about 2 o'clock.
So within 2 days of this thing, you're standing on Yellow Springs Road next to this church. How many steps from Shane Austin's driveway?
Where I was standing, probably 75 feet.
Wow.
And you didn't even know who it was.
No, sir.
The evidence is collected.
Yes, sir.
So one of the perpetrators was 75 feet away.
And also, there is a church that's mentioned a lot in this case, the Yellow Springs Church, which was on that road. It's where they set up their mobile command center.
Did they go and talk to Shane Austin
They did.
when they found the paper?
No, not when they found the paper. No.
That's
But-
crazy.
Oh, I know. Well, when his name started getting brought up, they went and talked to him, but they never checked his alibi.
That's just insanity to me. You find
Absolutely.
a paper 75 feet
Right,
from a house. Hi.
right.
Do you know why Holly BoBo's name, the missing girl?
Right. Right. hmm
There was just a lot of failures.
Yeah. And that's a great point. You would think you would be asking every single person on that road
Right.
something.
Someone
And
went
they-
through there.
Yeah. And they didn't. They did not. Mm-mm.
That's just unacceptable.
I agree. And see, I think that's what we're seeing here, his reaction to that. He knows they messed up.
He failed that, yeah.
He felt it.
I just cannot believe, oh, I'm literally in your front yard, practically.
Yeah.
And here's a paper of Holly BoBo who's been missing a month.
Mm-hmm.
And not going to talk to you.
Right.
What?
Yeah. Mm-mm. And I mean, her stuff was all scattered along that road. It's almost like somebody on that road had to have,
Done it.
known some.
Yeah, at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
At the very least.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see what he says here.
And you start chasing tips and leads again.
We began looking. Other law enforcement agencies, personnel had arrived.
Not just there at Yellow Springs, but are you still chasing leads and tips?
We're
everywhere
chasing
else?
leads. Of course, yes. Others are doing that.
That early stage of the investigation, and I'm not talking about right then on Friday when you were standing in Yellow Springs,
Yes, sir.
but between that day and those next 2 weeks,
The big
all right,
break.
early part of this investigation. Did the name Shane Austin ever come up?
Yes, sir.
Did the name Zach Adams ever come up?
Yes, sir.
Did the name Jason Audrey ever come up?
Yes, sir. Came up.
Other things came up too.
Many.
What was your priority? What was your priority in those 2, 3, 4 weeks?
We pursued the leads, I guess, more aggressively of the reports that we had that she was alive.
So would tips come in, for instance, that Holly's been seen so-and-so place? Is that correct?
Yeah. Hey,
Yes, sir.
can you
We
pause
had
it
a
right
tree-
here?
Yeah, yeah.
I think this is important because they were getting tips too that she was live, that she was seen, and you'll even hear him say there was people saying she was being kept in a basement.
Mhm.
So they're working those tips first because they're working, hopefully,
Assuming she's alive.
right. So those were the top priority
Mhm.
tips that they were going after.
But this is the thing. Statistically, you're not alive after a month.
Right. And an FBI, I think that they flew this FBI agent down specifically from Washington. And she told them the statistics of her being alive
It's
within the
almost
first
done.
day. Right.
First few hours.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I think he says this on the stand, but kind of just, I think he's reliving like it was right there in front of us and we missed it.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like, I understand
Mm-hmm.
people obviously have hope, that someone is alive, and it does happen. It
Right.
does.
Right. Yeah.
But statistically speaking,
Mm-hmm.
so if you find blood where she was last picked,
Right.
and you are, woke up your brother and
Mm-hmm.
she's taken out of the woods, somebody that takes you, they rarely ever let go, because once you're gone from them alive, you talk,
Mm-hmm.
meaning you get in trouble. 100% you get in trouble.
Right.
If they unalive them,
Mm-hmm.
you have a chance,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just the truth. That's just the bare bones truth of what they're thinking at the time.
Yep.
Law enforcement got emotionally involved due to pressure, in my opinion. They are human too. But
Yeah.
it's, people that, when I think it's easier, and especially a lot of times the public's mind and even creators, to say, oh, I think this person is out there, maybe they sold them, maybe they're in a school, or something like that, and
Right.
it just, it doesn't happen.
Right.
It doesn't happen. Maybe they just want Sebastian hid, and like true crime anymore, it's like, it's not even true crime because they don't even, this is a crappy situation,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's
Mhm.
not rainbows and butterflies. This is real life.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be a twisted person in the first
Mhm.
place to do something like that
Right. Right.
to Holly. You got to be really twisted
Mm-hmm.
to not only, it's one thing to think something, it's another thing to get in your vehicle
And act on
and
it.
act on it,
Mhm. Agreed. Yeah.
right? And
Mhm.
I don't know if you followed the Summer Wells case or not, but Don Wells, people's like, there were people was like, there was creators and stuff that would like get close with him and feel sorry for him and all that. And I'm like, this man was a married man. He got in his car, spied on someone
Yeah.
he did not know, watched her while she slept, got in her garage
Mhm.
where her laundry was, got her panties, put them in his pocket. The police was, they noticed he was driving through the neighborhood, and they noticed that he was acting strange and all that. And he told them
Right.
what he was doing it for. And I'm like, it's one thing for people to have sick fantasies or whatever. It is a whole
Right.
nother thing
To act
to
on it.
start your ignition, right?
Right.
Walk out to your car, start your ignition, back
Mhm.
up, and drive down the road and act on it,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
right?
And I can't ever figure out with the Summer Wells, those boys got taken out of the home, right?
Yes.
Like, did they ever say why they got taken out of the home?
Mm-mm.
So to me, that, like, I don't understand why they didn't get arrested then. If anything, if their home was unsafe, was it because of child neglect? Why did they never get arrested for at least child neglect?
Well, this is the thing. If generally CPS will not do child neglect if you give up your rights,
Oh, okay.
which I don't think is fair.
Yeah.
The kid still suffered.
Yeah. Yeah.
The kid still suffered.
Absolutely. So do you think that they gave up their rights?
Oh, they did. I know
They
that.
did. Oh,
Yeah.
they did. They gave it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's sad. And that's like that. I mean, investigators knew probably. Yeah.
Sorry. Nick is right. CPS does not decide charges, but they do recommend them.
Right.
They
And
do
they would turn them
recommend,
over
and
to
with
the police, right?
yes, yes. And generally without CPS's support, they won't do it either. So, but you're absolutely right. CPS does not decide charges. It is the authorities. And this is another thing, like if Summer's not there or Sebastian's not there,
Mm-hmm.
it makes things more difficult for them to do charges as well.
Right.
I mean, you've got what happened in the past,
Right.
but you don't have them to, do a forensic psychological audit or anything like that, so.
But what's interesting is like in Holly's case, the investigators didn't know who did it, but they had a good motive of why they kidnapped her, right? I mean,
There's only one motive
right,
generally why that age of a young woman.
right. So they knew the motive, they just didn't know the person. And so when I think about Sebastian's case, I think, is it, do they have a good idea of the person? I mean, they see this a lot.
Yes, a lot. And it's very frustrating. It's very
Mhm.
frustrating. And I'm going to be talking about Summer's case soon, because now the oldest brother of Summers is literally on almost like a an adoption website.
Oh, that's
I don't
sad.
like the adoption websites. I think it's
Yeah,
awful. I
that's sad.
think I don't think that they should do them. I'm against them.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird to me that they put children's faces, and it'll say little Tommy likes checkers and his favorite is French fry. Listen, like we've done surrogacy, we've done the
Right.
adoption stuff, all of that. They've been through it
Mhm.
all. I've seen it all. And so, but to me, it's like picking out, it's like, oh, I like this kid looks good. You know
Right.
what I mean? And I don't know. I don't know. It's like,
She's putting the child
Yeah.
out there.
I don't know. It's very weird to me
Yeah.
that it's like they're being put up for auction second to no one. Said, yeah, it's that. And it's like, how like there's like the websites where you like match up people you got common interest in or whatever. It's like, yeah, let me pick out this child, what's their number? I don't
Yeah.
like it. They're human beings.
I definitely don't think their picture, I didn't realize their pictures are posted on. I don't think that their pictures should be posted on there.
In every state. You can go to your state right now.
In every
and
state they do that?
every state. You can go to go to Google and you can type in foster type in like foster kids up for adoption catalog or website, and it'll have on there. And let me tell you something. I recommend everybody looking at it, because you will God, it makes me want to cry, because I did it for a long time. You will see how sad it is that so many of these kids that are so physically abused, like their story will say, this kid has some issues that we're working through because he was neglected with fire, or what the hell ever. And there's kids on there with like
Right.
breathing tubes, lots of
Oh,
mentally and physically kids.
yeah. That's
And
sad.
it is. And
Did you see that comment? Let's
one
see.
sec.
Did you see that comment from section or SEC? She said, I'm trying where they would have parties. Where is that?
What's that? Sorry.
Did you see that, Justin? Did
What
you
is
see
it?
that comment? The comment SEC2 number 1 said there was a
Second
place in
one.
Mississippi where they would have big parties with live music, food, and meet the children to see if there was a good match. If they were a good match. Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And
I don't know. It just kind of feels like it's kind of exploiting the children a little bit. I don't know.
most of them on those types of these are state ran websites. This is by the state. It's not a
So the
private.
state is in charge. Okay,
Well,
so the state is in
it's
charge of each
it's like
child in their privacy.
it's the state CPS, or whatever. It's
Yeah.
so yeah, no
Mm.
idea. I
That's
but I think I know Ginger's just like, I can't do it, but we need to see those things. And the reason is because it is supposed to bother us.
Mm-hmm.
It should bother you,
Mm-hmm.
because when we are bothered, that is when change happens.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really, really sad.
Mm-hmm.
Most are like 12 or older. Most of them are like 16, 15, 16, 17, and they're about ready to, get on with their life. And they've just been to home. Some of these kids have lived through more than most people have in their entire life.
That's so sad.
Yes. And that's the thing, Eileen. Like, I have to, say certain things here on YouTube because of the terms of and stuff, but I always try to give it to my audience as it really is, not like, oh, I think he's probably in a marching band somewhere, and this is real life, y'all. And people's like, oh, I'm so offended. Well, then get the hell out of true crime.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these are real issues. These are real human beings. They're suffering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're looking at statistics. I mean, they're not just going off of a feeling or, I'm hoping. Of course, they're, chasing down those leads, but these guys are going after statistics, and they're truth finders. That's it.
Every day. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, and they want to catch these people who did it, and they want to put them away.
Absolutely. You harm a kid,
Mm-hmm.
you harm kids, be inhumane to animals, someone who is mentally or physically, not up to par, with you having all four legs and all four legs. Okay, Justin. All two legs and two arms and a good mind. Don't mess with, you're a grown ass man. Don't be mean to kids.
Yeah.
Kids are scared.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Kids are scared. They're growing. Like, you will fuck a kid up in their mind for the rest of their life.
They're vulnerable and they're trusting, and that's what's sad.
And they still love their crappy ass parents sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Many times.
Yeah.
It's rare where you will see a child who's like, I want away from, like a little kid, like I want away from them, because they're like, they'll make excuses.
Mm-hmm.
Mom's having a bad day, dad's having a bad day, but it's like, it's every day that these kids,
Mm-hmm.
can suffer.
Yeah.
I mean,
and this is just my opinion. So, one of the reasons why I don't think that Sebastian ran away or walked away on his own was because I do think that he cared about his mom. And I think that
Absolutely.
he was, smart enough to think, I don't want to leave my mom, or I think he was thinking would be thinking of her emotions. Like, I don't want to upset her. I don't want to leave the home and her be by herself.
Yeah.
Because he didn't leave any kind of note to her indicating that he was gone and he'd be back. There was, none of that to our knowledge.
Everyone that talks about Sebastian,
Mhm.
they always say, even Chris, they're like, Sebastian would go to someone. He was a communicator,
Mhm.
right? Like, if there was
Mhm.
a problem, there's
Mhm.
kids in life that there are certain kids that will go to adults for anything, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
they're the first one to tell. If you have a group of kids and they're all fighting,
Yeah.
there's always going to be at least one of those kids that tells, right? That comes to the adults and tells, right? Like, this is going on in the situation. And to
Mhm.
me, that's what Sebastian
Yep.
seemed like he was. He was the kid that was going to be like, this is going on. This is going on. And that's what the one thing that all three parents can agree on is Sebastian would go to someone.
Mhm.
And, in my opinion, again, doesn't reflect on girl mom or anybody else, just mine alone, is we don't see him going anywhere that night. There's nothing
Right.
that says or proves that he went anywhere.
Yep.
Sebastian did tell, and that was the final straw, in my opinion. You could be very right, second to no one.
And Justin and I have talked about this. A lot of people, when like in true crime, what did you say? It's actually very simple.
Mhm.
It's usually not that complex.
Yes. People generally want to make crime very complicated when generally things are most crime is very, very simple. They're not hopping cars in New York City, jumping from car to car, with 12 different cell phones or anything like that. It's generally someone premeditates something and they act it out,
Mhm.
or they snap.
Right.
And usually when people snap, they panic, and
Mhm.
you don't want to be, you want to act as quickly as possible.
Right.
And it's generally usually the most simple answer that is logical is what it
Mhm.
normally is, and that's what
Yeah.
every course that I've ever taken tells us. And
Yeah.
I can't really get down with the conspiracies or anything like that.
Well, and it's just like we talked about. There was a case in Hendersonville last summer, I believe. Brandy Elliott.
Mhm.
She
I
had
covered
a
it.
7-year-old daughter, and I think she just snapped. She took her daughter across the street.
A mom that was a good mom.
Yeah, yeah,
She was a good mom overall.
yeah,
Like, just a
yeah.
good mom.
And her husband, I think, was in the hospital. He was a
Mhm.
military.
Mhm.
He was in the military. He'd been injured, so she had been raising this, her daughter herself. Then, of course,
Mhm.
she had her husband that was injured. Um, and I think her daughter kept asking her to do stuff, and she just needed some like me time.
Mhm.
She literally just walked her across the street and put her
Drunk.
in the Yeah, and people witnessed it, so they tried to save her, but they were too late. And so I'm like, what if she would have reported her missing? Can you imagine
Very good point.
where it would have gone? Nobody would have thought that she just, lost it.
This is Brandy Elliott and her daughter.
Mhm.
I mean, you would never think, right? Like,
Yeah. Nobody would have guessed that she would have walked her daughter across the street and put her there.
right.
Like, it would have gone so many different places. Like, she was, taken, or who knows?
Let's see here.
Yeah, there she is.
She walked her daughter. It was a river or a creek? What was it?
I think it was like a creek. I don't know. I think it was like a creek or something.
Yeah.
Kim V says it happened literally 5 minutes from her house. Wow.
Hold on.
Oh, a pond. Somebody said a pond.
Oh, that's what it was.
A pond. But she had to have. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was, when was that?
2024.
Mom was 33 years old. Her daughter was 7 years old. Piper.
Piper.
And was it Piper? Was that her name?
Yes.
Piper, that's what it was.
Yeah.
On July 13, 2024, the incident occurred on Drake's Creek, where Elliot allegedly held her daughter's head underwater until she stopped breathing. According to court documents, Elliot told police that she was having a, quote, rough day and needed, quote, time alone. She described holding her daughter underwater, quote, like a largemouth bass, end quote, until she felt her, quote, bubbling, end quote, instructing her to, quote, be quiet during the act. Afterwards, Elliot attempted CPR, but Piper was pronounced dead at a nearby hospital. Elliot was indicted on charges including premeditated unaliving felony, unaliving, and aggravated child use. Initially, the possibility of the death penalty was considered. However, prosecutors later decided to seek life with imprisonment without parole. And this was while in custody at Sumner County Jail. Elliot reportedly attempted to unalive herself, leading to her transfer to a state facility equipped with handling mental health needs.
I think there's going to be a trial in this, though. Is there going to be a trial?
Yeah. Trial, when is?
And I think Ginger said something. She said she had to have had a mental illness. Yeah. And I think she claims that she was still suffering from like postpartum after. I think she said that she was like on medication and then she got off, and
I think she wasn't taking her medicine, wasn't it?
Yeah, she wasn't taking her medicine. Yeah.
She's got it's anticipated near soon. They haven't gave a specific date on it, but she was indicted in September 2024. Excuse me.
Let's see.
And this was Hendersonville as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, Kim V says this is the same Drake's Creek that runs behind Worsham's Market, that runs all the way into Hendersonville and ends in Old Hickory Lake. Wow. So pretty close. But again, can you just imagine if she would have called and reported her daughter missing?
Right. I mean, if people hadn't have saw her, she could have done
Yeah.
anything.
She could have said that she walked or she wasn't in the apartment or something. And imagine
It said
how,
she went over there and she drowned herself.
yeah.
She's 7.
Absolutely. Mhm. Yeah. It was because people witnessed it and they tried to save her. They immediately started doing CPR on her.
Mhm. I think there is, particularly when, and we're all human beings, we all get stressed,
Mhm.
and things can happen all at once, right?
Mhm.
And there are certain times I think people are, especially if they're having mental health issues and things keep piling up, I think they snap with rage. And
Yeah.
it's a rage that happens quickly, and they do what they're
Yeah.
doing in the moment, and then it changes all of their lives forever, right?
Yeah.
Change, this was a beautiful family,
And
and
that's a good
now
point.
they're gone.
Right.
What
Right.
was
And it's really interesting. You were talking earlier about, the people that we surround ourselves with. It makes a huge impact, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
You're frozen.
Absolutely.
I can't see Justin anymore. Okay, can you see me? Am
Yep.
I frozen?
I see ya.
Okay.
You're not frozen.
Okay, so I wonder too, like, you can see me? Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know how KK, Edgar was probably the disciplinarian, and in my opinion, had some anger stuff going on.
Mhm. Yep.
Like anger issues. He was the disciplinarian. Do you think that KK kind of
I'll tell you.
adopted that behavior just being around him?
Well, the saying is, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I believe, have you ever seen or had a friend,
Okay. Yeah.
and they marry or they get in a relationship and they change for the good or the bad, right? Like, I mean, one way or the other, they just completely change.
Yeah.
They'll change because
Right.
they want to be accepted, they want the relationship to go smooth, as well, or
Mhm.
whatever. I think it can be
Yeah.
that, and it can also be, I'm not saying this happened in Sebastian's case or anything, but I do think there are times that one parent, was like a step parent particularly, or a boyfriend or a girlfriend, they don't they want the parent but they don't want the kid.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
think things change, you know so yeah,
Mhm.
look at what that family put Nina through and still are, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Sad.
So I think
Yeah.
things were, it just from
Absolutely.
people I've spoken to, and people that know Edgar, that has spoken publicly and privately. I think even Edgar has stated it before. Things were rough between their relationship, which happens in all relationships, ups and downs. That's human. Um,
Yeah.
but I also think that
Right.
KK was frustrated. I will never get it out of my head. The one time that I've actually heard Edgar speak
Yep.
in a vulnerable way, which you don't see very often with Edgar, and honest without the mask of God, the ego, without the ego.
Right.
What would you change? He said, I would have been at home more. And I know a lot of people always thought that was because of Sebastian, but I don't believe that. I believe it was because of KK, because I think distance and time are two things that change people. And when you are in a particularly relationships, particularly marriage, and then you have especially a newer marriage, and you're in two different places,
Right.
5-6 days a week, majority always rules.
Right.
Always. And so you can talk on the phone all day long, but your life still happens. And you get new habits, right? You do new things. One will always do new things or whatever. You meet new people. You learn, I can live without them, or I can't live without them, so I need to go back. One or the other always happens. And I believe KK was extraordinarily frustrated, that because I think KK is one that needs a lot of attention, which is fine. Every person requires, some people require more attention from their loved ones, and some they don't. And God help you and bless you with whatever you need. But I think she is one that needs constant attention from her spouse. And I think because he wasn't there,
Right.
it was hard for her.
Yeah. Do you feel like she was like insecure in, at least in that point in the marriage? Like,
I think there
he's been married
was.
5 times.
I mean, I would say so. I mean, if you've it takes a brave person to marry someone the 5th time that's been married. The odds are for a 3rd marriage, let alone a 5th marriage. Again, not that a 3rd marriage can't work, and a 4th marriage, and a 5th marriage, and a 6th marriage. Statistically speaking, though, it's like the 3rd marriage is 33%. I think it's 33%. I mean, a 1st marriage is only 50 or 55 or something like that.
But, I'm sorry, but can you imagine that first? Yeah. Can you imagine that first date though? Can you imagine that first date? Like, oh, I've been married 5 times.
Hi. So, I've got a cat. Her name's Karen, and I like long walks on the beach. I have 6 kids, and I've been married 27 times. How you doing?
Yep.
Oh, winner, winner, chicken dinner. I would have been like,
Oh my gosh.
like there's no,
Uh-huh.
holy hell no.
Yeah. I would have been texting like, somebody call me and give me
Yes.
the like
Yeah. I'd have been like,
give me an emergency to get out of here.
SOS, please, someone help me. It's
Yeah.
not healthy for me to be singing Rihanna here. I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, I literally, I don't care how good looking or what on the first date. If you tell me you've been married 5 times,
Mm-mm.
deuces, because
Yeah.
5, listen, you can't get it wrong 5 times. To say I
mean,
do 5 times, like I promised God
yeah.
5 times already. Like on the 5th time,
I mean,
I
but
would
can
be
you
like,
imagine
I
him
just
going
tried
through
it.
each? Yeah.
God, don't strike. It's the 5th time.
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
Can you
Really.
imagine though him going through each of the like marriages, like, oh, this was marriage number 1, and
Yes.
this is marriage number 2, and this is what happened, and it was probably all of their fault. But
Of course.
I just can't imagine him going through all those stories.
No. I think there is. I think with Edgar, the highs are highs and the lows are lows.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I don't know. I've been too chicken to do it once, Ginger says. I mean, you have to, I think for a marriage to work out, you need someone to know you fully. Like fully
Yeah.
know you. Like if you are not in it, like if they don't fully know, or you don't, and you have to fully know them and be okay with it. And be okay with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's crazy. So we're gonna do this again, right? And we're gonna
Yes.
we're gonna do this again and kind of continue a little series on this of Holly BoBo and oh my god, sorry. I'm not used to it. Sorry. I thought I kicked you off. And how kind of TBI reacted in Holly BoBo's case. They did like, you don't expect perfect in this, but there was a lot of things that could have been completely just negligent in some aspects. TBI was, and they have changed a lot as far as, especially I think with their relationship with the public, and we'll get in a lot more to that later.
Yeah.
And how we can apply some of this to Sebastian's case as well. So we're gonna kind of carry on with this. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you so much for coming up. I know this is a case that's special to your heart, and I know Sebastian's case is too. And you know, Holly BoBo is, thankfully there's answers. I hope justice sticks in Holly's case.
And I think it will.
I do too.
I do.
I do too. But it's like hell. Scott Peterson is trying it.
I
His
know.
damnedest to get
Yep.
out right now. So
Yep.
are the was it the West
Menendez brothers. The
Menendez?
Menendez brothers.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What's the crazy mom who was just
Susan
Susan?
Smith.
They're all trying right now.
I know. I know.
All these, technicalities, right? And
Hmm.
all
Yeah.
this. So
And it's scary because especially some of the ones you just mentioned need to stay behind.
oh my God, if Scott
You know.
Peterson got out
Oh, I
and
know. Horrible.
Susan Smith and all these people, like I would lose my like the Menendez brothers, they're saying now like his dad arred him and stuff
Yeah.
like this, and that's why well
But they were grown adults. Like they could have
right. I mean, it's like
situation, right?
like if that happened, I'm sorry that happened, but you don't
Right.
slay him down and then lie,
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kim says, Justin, here's the thing though. Holly Bobo's case was constantly being updated by TBI. That is not the case with Sebastian's case. You're absolutely right, Kim.
Mhm.
And I will say the TBI gave more updates in Summer's case. TBI's never given an update. No, they did. They did one update.
They did on the well, they were there. They had a
Yeah, there was the TBI woman that spoke. Remember?
yeah,
It
yeah.
was pretty early in.
Uh-huh. And she did a press conference with Eric Craddock in April, and then they did give a statement at the 1 year anniversary. And they kind of, you know what? They kind of updated the first couple days after he was missing. They kind of updated a little bit.
TBI does it more, but that's the thing that we're kind of talking about because they talked a lot in Holly Bobo's case.
Mm-hmm.
And now TBI is like they're tight-lipped with everything. They still update more than local law enforcement, but they are very, 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 very tight-lipped now. They don't give nothing hardly.
But too, you got to remember that with Holly's case, they didn't know who, they were truly lost. And so I think that they relied a lot more on the public to help.
But aren't they lost on Sebastian's case? Aren't they lost on Summer's case?
I would think that if they were and they needed the public's help, that they would be asking the public for help. And I just truly don't think that they're doing that. I think that they've got an idea.
Got you.
And that's just my opinion. I mean, that's why I think that they wouldn't be coming to the public to ask for help.
That could be true. Yeah.
Constantly.
Yeah. Bogey, these are my old glasses, but I ordered 5 new pairs that I should get in the next couple of days. So thank you so much, my dear. Thank you so much, Ginger. Love you both. Great live. Pearls, pray a hedge of protection around those.
Ginger, she's so sweet.
Ginger's so sweet. We love Ginger so much. He's such a good person. Well, thank you so much, my dear.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, chat.
We love you.
I can't wait for the next episode.
All right. We'll be here.
Okay. Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.